Hello and welcome to The Lion Show. I'm your host, your favorite business coach, Robert Lyon. Today we have the great privilege of talking to Kristen Westcott. She's a business and growth strategist, and I'm just super excited to have her on the show today. So Kristen, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell everybody who you are and what you're up to?
Thank you. Thanks, Robert. I'm excited to be here. So, my name is Kristen, and I am a business growth and system strategist for online entrepreneurs who are growing really fast. And, things are really starting to kind of take off, but they're secretly behind the scenes getting a little bit freaked out because things might be falling apart, falling apart behind the scenes as they're growing fast, because a lot of times they don't have the strategy or the systems that they need in place to kind of support that growth. And so I get to kind of help them figure out what that one thing is that they need to kind of put in place to kind of keep that house of cards from kind of tumbling down around them.
That's so cool. So how do you put these systems together? Sometimes I just like write it on a piece of paper and I'm like, oh yeah, now I got a system. And then I just kind of throw it away, or like I make a nice, real like Excel spreadsheet. Like what is your strategy for that?
Yeah, so I mean, you're getting started. You're on the right track. Just the first step is to write it down. Just whether that's on a piece of paper, on an Excel spreadsheet, just to kind of figure out what that looks like. And then the next step is to really kind of look at what it is you're doing and see if there's ways to kind of streamline what you're doing, ways to kind of stop maybe doing some back and forth where you're in and out of the back end of a particular, piece of software or something like that. And then I like to actually formalize it and put it into a project management platform so that each time I go to do that task, I'm just duplicating, a card or a task with all of the steps right in there. And so I love to use ClickUp, but another great one for people just getting started that maybe are not so geared to project management is Asana. And both of them have free plans. And so you can kind of get started. And the thing to do is you kind of create that task with all the little steps and pieces that you mentioned, Robert, that you would just kind of maybe put into your spreadsheet. And then each time you go to do that task, all you have to do is duplicate that card and reset the due dates for, the next time you want to kind of have that done.
Yeah, I love it. And how like precise are we getting like with this? Like, do we have like every single minute detail? I feel like it should, but I'm just wondering what you think.
And again, it depends on how new you are. I mean, if you have
Mm,
never put a system together before, then it might get a little overwhelming to think about the fact that you have to do every minute little detail.
yeah,
And so I would say, like, do what you can and then improve on that each time you go around. But if your plan is to bring someone into your team to support you eventually and for you to
that's what
not
I was
have to do the
thinking.
task or all of the pieces of this task, then
Mhm.
those minute details do matter, because otherwise you're going to give that task to somebody else who's not in your head, and they're going to miss a step or a key part, and they're going to bring that, the outcome or the output to you. And you're going to be like, that's not quite what I asked for. And it's probably
Yeah,
because one of those little steps was missing in there.
right. Yeah, if you're gonna get like a VA, you probably got to get real good at making sure each thing makes sense. You have a good description, and then you can just kind of plug and play with people, have them come in and see how good they do, and if they do it right, and then if you have to adjust it or something like that. That's really cool. So, what are some businesses that you've worked with to implement this stuff?
So I work quite a bit with online coaches and copywriters. For whatever reason, content writers seem to kind of be drawn to me. And I think it's again because their businesses take off fast. Like once they
Yeah,
get a couple of great referrals, I mean, work is just flowing in for them. But again, they don't have time to systematize. So whenever you have that really quick growth, tends to be when that back end system kind of falls apart because you haven't had a chance to even document what it is you've been doing, because you just hit the nail on the head and things went great. And it's like, whoa, this one took off, but we haven't really written down what we did.
yeah, no, for sure. I like copywriting. I like content writing, and I pay for it too. So those are good businesses to get into.
Yeah.
what What is kind of like the backstory for how you kind of started to become this, role model, or this get this into this business?
I actually started off in the coaching space myself. So I started as a health coach and then shifted into life coaching. And what I found was I was working all day in my corporate job, and I came home and I would take care of my kids. And then, in the evening after I put them to bed, I would then be sitting down to try and run my business. And during that time, I wasn't actually planning out my own marketing tasks. I wasn't doing all the things that I needed to do to actually grow and sell my coaching services. What I was doing is I was hopping into the Facebook groups of the courses that I had been a part of, supporting the other people that were in those groups and helping them
Yeah.
get their stuff kind of planned out. And I was doing that. And my only time to work was after my kids went to bed. And I was spending all of that time supporting other women. And I did that for about 6 months and then realized, like, hey, I have no clients now because I haven't marketed my services in 6 months. And I had to sit with that and think of like, why, what's going on here? And that's when I realized it's not that I didn't love coaching, because I do. And when I, as a strategist, I do get to do some coaching as well. But I liked the impact I was able to have on supporting another coach and growing their business. Before I got into coaching, I also had a background in law. So I did a ton of project management, and I worked in the education industry where I was working with students and faculty on goal setting and time management. And so all of those things kind of just came together. And it was just kind of like this moment of, wow, this is actually what I can do. This is what I love doing. And this is where I have the impact to have like a really big impact on the future of the online space.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you're working with like these coaches, are you helping them like for the whole business, like from lead gen? Are you focused on sales? Are you helping them just like keep their sanity while they work with all these clients? Or like where do you fall in there? Where is it all of it? Oh, we froze. Dun dun dun.
Are they
Mute.
launching? A lot of online coaches are launching, right? And so
Right.
if it happens to be a launch, then our focus is on the marketing and what needs to happen for that launch to happen. And also then when that launch is done, systematizing it to make sure that the next time they launch, they have all of those assets, they have all of the tasks kind of together. But along with that, it's building the systems along the way as we're doing things, because the next time you go to do it, you don't want to be recreating the wheel. So we want to be able to
Right.
kind of have a rinse and repeat process. And so typically what I'm helping them do is document that as they're going, and putting it into like a nice, neat little, like I said, ClickUp or Asana, so that they could duplicate that project for the next round.
Mm.
And for your listeners out there, one of the easiest ways to actually track what it is you're doing, or to come up with your system, is to use Loom and just record yourself as you're doing it, right? So let's say
Yeah.
you're putting up a blog post or posting a YouTube video or whatever. Just click, the Loom video button and record yourself as you're putting it together, and then store that recording in one single Google Drive or one single Dropbox where you have all of these recordings. Now, when you do get an assistant, they have a bunch of videos they can go through that walks them step by step exactly how you want it done. And then you can get them to actually turn that into a task slash subtask in your project management system for them to be able to follow going forward.
Yeah, that's cool. What have you noticed has generated like a really successful launch for these coaches?
It's a combination, right? They have to have their messaging dialed in. They have to have the marketing strategy and technique dialed in. But one of the things that really impacts the success of their launch is how they're able to manage their energy.
Mm.
If they can't keep their energy up throughout the whole launch, then at that cart close period, which is a really pivotal day for online coaching launches, if they don't have the energy to sell, then their launch doesn't do as well. And so it's really managing that energy all the way throughout the launch, which
Yeah.
means prep ahead so that you have the space throughout the launch to focus on your audience.
Wow, that's pretty cool. What are your tips for keeping your energy up? Just like eat healthy and like, prepare, work. Like, what do you think? What does it look like?
Yeah, well, like I'm not a health coach anymore. So, but yeah, definitely making sure that you are, drinking lots of water and eating and preparing. But from a preparation standpoint, it's the more you can do ahead of time. Like I know a lot of people are like, okay, I'm gonna launch in, 6 weeks. And it's like, wow, that's a lot to pull together in six
Yeah.
weeks, unless you've done it numerous times. And even then, it's making sure that maybe you've pre-recorded some of the stuff and pre-written out a lot of the things, and that your brain isn't constantly cycling through what's next, what's next, what's next. That's why it's nice to have a project management platform that lists all of that stuff out. Because if you can take the energy that your brain is where it's constantly on and it's constantly thinking, and divert that energy into when you're actually going live with your audience, then
Yeah.
you'll have saved yourself a whole lot of stress and energy
No.
there.
Yeah. I love having like just something tell me what to do so I can kind of like not necessarily shut my brain off, but just be like, okay, now I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing
Yeah.
this and not have to like think about like all the nuances of it and things like that. What was the platform that you liked for that?
So I like ClickUp, but if
Yep.
you're brand new to, project management and you're a total creative and it's not your thing, then Asana is actually an easier platform to learn if you're just getting started. But I do love ClickUp because they have so many extra features and room for growth within your business, that will allow you to kind of separate things at different multiple levels.
Yeah, it's awesome. So how do you look at goal setting? Like how do you think about it? Like how do you break it down? And like do you go like shoot for the moon or is it more like realistic, like this month, next month? Like how do you think of it?
It's a combination, right? I mean, I think we all have to have that shoot for the moon vision, or your motivation to keep going it can be a challenge to kind of stay motivated. So I think like you need to have like a 3-year like shoot for the moon like vision for your business. But then we do really need to kind of back that up and look at what exactly can we realistically get done with what you have going on, right? Every single entrepreneur is balancing different responsibilities at home. Some people are still working a job and trying to, get this to happen on the side. So we can't compare ourselves to what everybody else is doing. We really have to make sure we're creating goals and a plan that fits around what we already have going on. And so what I'm noticing right now, and again, this happens every year, but we all wanted 2020 to end so badly. And we made all of these huge plans for 2021. We got so excited about what was going to happen and this was going to be our year and we were going to recover. And then what we did was we tried to cram all of that into the first quarter. So we made these plans and we're like, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be great. And I'm going to get this all done by March. And now we're heading up end of March and we're probably looking back on those goals going, oh my God, I am nowhere near fitting that in. And so it's a combination of realism of like, what can you actually get done within a 3-month time frame versus, still having those big dreams to be motivated to keep going forward.
Right. That's for sure. It's been a interesting year. Everything keeps changing for me. So I'm a coach. I work with a lot of business owners, but I was working just with like entrepreneurs. So I was like helping people launch their business similar to you. And now I've kind of totally pivoted towards just helping coaches that have a system just do high ticket sales, like focus on the high ticket and no more launches, no more low ticket, just because it's hard to work with. Like if somebody's never started a business before, they have so many mindset blocks and they just don't believe in themselves. Whereas if you're with somebody who's already made some money and knows that it can keep building, like it's a little bit easier. So I don't know, I've just kind of shifted who I'm training and who I'm talking to for my coaching business. And it's been definitely interesting, but I've never really kind of had a launch. I need to think about that. So like, what else were they doing on their launches? Like just going live every day? Are they like doing press releases, doing a bunch of podcasts? Like what does the launch look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, the people I work with, they don't do a lot of press releases, but there definitely is like content leading up to your launch, right? So you're
Yeah.
seeding that idea for about 6 weeks ahead of time. And so you're doing consistent content. And so let's say you were doing weekly videos, you're probably doing them twice a week now, like 6 weeks leading up to your launch. Yeah, you're trying to get on other people's podcasts. You're trying to see if you can get an article to be featured or released in like Entrepreneur or Inc. or Success or
Yeah.
something like that. You're reaching out and maybe doing trainings in other people's Facebook groups or other people's communities. Like you're really
Ooh,
seeing
that's
what
a
you
good
can
one.
do to bring more people into your sphere so that when that launch date comes, right? So let's say your cart opens on Monday, then you're going live every day. Probably if you have a Facebook group, you're going live in your group. And then you're also going live publicly, generally on Instagram these days for most of my most of my clients, their audience is on Instagram. You might be
Cool.
trying to do clubhouse rooms with people now. Like
Yeah.
then it's having that room to have the conversations with people who are on the fence. Another strategy that I've seen work really well for people is using BombBomb or Bonjourno, which is like a
Oh yeah.
video messaging tag.
The
So you can actually
email
send personalized
videos.
videos, yeah, to your
Yeah.
people on the back end.
Ah, I
So
just wish
like you
Bomb
track your
was a little
emails.
cheaper.
I
It's
know, I
expensive.
know. But if you're having a launch and you're having a 6-figure launch and
Yeah.
you're going to send 20 videos out to people and 8 of those 20 are going to convert for you. It's well worth the cost of the video platform because
Uh-huh.
what you do is you go through your email, your back analytics of your email, and you see who are the top 20 people that opened up my emails or the top 30 people that either opened or clicked on most of the links in my emails. And then you go to your Facebook page or your Instagram and you look at the analytics of who are your top contributors, who are your top commenters. You find that overlap and you send personalized videos to the top 20, 25 people in there where you are like speaking their name and talking to them about a comment they've left or something like that. The conversion rate for people who sign is a lot higher because it is that personalized touch point that we're lacking in the online space these days.
That's so cool. I love hearing about all that stuff. Gets my brain kicking. What are you really excited about, like in your business and what you're doing?
Oh, I love the one-to-one work still. I mean, I know so many people are going to big leveraged models and it's great. And there is a real great way to serve more people in that model. But I still am super excited about the fact that I'll do one VIP day a week for people where I get to go deep with that one person for like a full day. And I love it. It's so much fun for me to really kind of get into the back end of their business, to really look at their systems, to really look at why it is they're going crazy, what's going on in their quarterly plan, like how have they figured out their goal setting, and to actually fix something for them. And I think that's what gets me most excited is like at the end of a VIP day, we have solved at least one problem, if not more, so that that very next day going forward, that's not something that business owner has to worry about anymore. And I get so excited about the fact that I've kind of built a business model that has allowed me to still keep VIP days
Yeah.
at kind of the center of what I do because it's what I love.
Yeah. Well, that does sound awesome. I'm like, oh, I need someone to help me solve one problem like a day. That sounds really good. Well, that's awesome. So I'm all about like the listener's success. So do you have any other like strategies about, really being organized or focusing on growth that we might not have talked about?
Yeah. I think again, it's this idea of really knowing what your goal is and making sure everything you're doing is in alignment with that. And I'm sure this is exactly what you're coaching your people on, Robert, is this idea of there are 1,000 ways to build your online business, but you have to find the one that is most in alignment with what it is you want to do. If it's
Yeah.
not doing that $27 product or the $100 course or whatever, don't do it just because you see someone else out there saying like, this is awesome, this is great. You have to find the model that's most in alignment with how you love to work with people. And when you do that, you can trim all of the excess to-dos, all of those things off your list because now you have a clear focus. And so for your people, that's, high-end coaching, right? When
Mhm.
you're selling high ticket or whatever,
Yeah.
like now your focus is on that. You can eliminate these 20 other strategies, these 20 other distractions over here because you know exactly where your focus is going to be for the next little bit. And I think if people do nothing else, it's to really find that one thing that is in alignment with their vision for their business and hone in on that.
Yeah, getting my new thing is like simplify it and then just hyper focus on it. Like just like this is exactly what I'm gonna do. This is how I'm gonna make it happen. So I love
Yeah.
that. And yeah, I could still use some help just like creating systems. So I'm trying to think like, so if I go to Asana or ClickUp and then I just plan out like the next day, is that what you're doing? Are you planning out the whole quarter? Like what, or is it just like the systems you're going to go through?
Yeah. So there's day-to-day tasks that have to get done in your business, right? You need to
Yeah.
respond to your emails, your DMs, you need to handle Stripe disputes, like whatever's happening in your business, those things you have to happen. And so in my ClickUp, I have a board that's ongoing tasks and I have things that I do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, like filing taxes and updating my GDPR to make sure I'm still compliant and like reviewing client agreements. And so that is in my ClickUp. So I never have to think about it, right? When
Mhm.
last week it came up to make sure I've got everything together to send to my accountant to file my taxes for April, right? And so like that just pre-populates every year, that repeats going, grab this from the bookkeeper to send to the accountant so that you can get your taxes filed on time, right? Every quarter I have something come up to say, confirm with accountant amount of money to pay, right? Pay the government so that I'm not behind on my taxes. And right, nobody wants that to happen. That's a headache you don't need, right? So
Yeah.
these kinds of things go into my project management system. And I don't have to think about it anymore. It's like, it's not like, oh no, I'm late on that. I forgot to pay that. Like those headaches go away. And so some of the things I focus on daily are connecting with other people in my space. And so I have a daily reminder that says, respond to any DMs, respond to emails, and connect with one other person in the online space. So I will reach out either in a DM, an email, or something like that to connect with one other person. On a week to week basis, I'm tracking my Instagram metrics because Instagram only gives you 7 days of metrics. So that goes in my project management to make sure that the same day every week, I'm pulling my Instagram metrics from the week before. Monthly, I'll do email and Facebook because those ones, they give you the past like 30 days. So I have that in my project management system to go in every month, pull those metrics. So I have data to make data driven decisions going forward so that I know what's converting. And like you said, what to hyper focus on because I've got that information. And so these are things that go in there and they automatically pop up, like on the first Monday of the month, go in and grab this information. And so it's been really helpful to keep that kind of stuff organized. But the other thing I do is every Friday, I spend 3 hours on my business, not on
Yeah.
client work, not on anything else. And that's where I really go in. And this is where I look at revamping client agreements or updating materials and that kind of stuff. And once a month, I do what most of us refer to as a CEO day,
Yeah.
where I'm looking at what happened this month in my business. What were my goals? Did I hit my goals? If not, where do I need to course correct for the next month so that I stay on track to hit my quarterly goal? And so every month I'm sitting down and I take a full day to go through those metrics, to go through my profit and loss statements, to go through like all of that information that we're gathering, it's great to gather it, but if you don't look at it, then, it's not really going to help you planning out the next month or the next quarter.
Yeah. Do you have any cool success stories you might want to share with working with some clients? Like we were talking before, you have some people that are making some serious changes in the coaching industry. So I'm just wondering
What their secrets are.
no, I know the secrets are just like success, like what's something fun that you've done that was like, oh my gosh, it was cool.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think. There's been a lot of them. My one client that I'm working with now, she launched a new program in January, a new one in February, and we're wrapping up another one that she's going to launch going in March.
Oh
So
wow, busy.
it's her year of change. So she's completely eliminated one-on-one work from her business, and we've moved her entirely into a group model.
Yeah.
And so that's been really, really exciting and really fun to see that shift. And I'm sure, again, you probably experienced this with your clients, to be able to see that the relief come off her plate when her calendar clears from
Yeah.
the millions of one-on-one appointments, and the fact that she now has time to divert this energy to this program that she's been thinking about running, that's been on her, idea list on that vision board for a while, actually coming to fruition. And so the client I'm talking about is an intuitive or a medium, and she's actually teaching people how they can use their intuition to grow their business, right? By being able to tap into following your intuition and not fighting it, to be able to use it as a tool to help you grow your business faster. So it's pretty exciting to see that come.
That is cool. Do you have any other like tips on how to transfer from one-on-one to group coaching? Like how to like the best way to orchestrate it? Like I feel like everybody used to sell courses and like that was the thing, but now people are kind of burnt out on they're not going to spend as much money on the course. So you kind of have to marry like coaching courses and texting and all those things together. Have you found a system that kind of works well for group coaching?
Yeah, I think exactly what you're saying is people, I shouldn't say people, it depends on your audience. It is
Yeah.
100% depends on your audience, right? So there are still people out there buying the DIY courses, your
Right.
startups. If you're not B2B and you're B2C, courses will still work really well because they're an alternative to books, right? And so people are like, okay, I would read a book and not get to talk to the author. I can take this course and not get to talk to the creator. But if you're in the B2B space, definitely I'm seeing a big shift in people wanting that connection with the course creator or the business, right? The CEO of the business. They want
Yeah.
to be able to talk to the person who is teaching them all these wonderful things. And so whether that is in a community setting or coaching calls or offering something like that, I think also there's been a shift to have a VIP option for a lot of these courses. So you have your more affordable option for the bulk of people, but
Yeah.
then for a select few, you're adding on this VIP option where they get some one-to-one. I think has been really kind of a big push because, like you said, like in the online space, there's a lot of courses out there, and then everyone shifted to the membership model, and then like we've seen so many things happen, right? These trends. But what people are really craving now, and it could be because of the pandemic, or it could just be after going through these trends, is the actual support, the chance to
Yeah.
ask a question and get their specific question answered.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. I'm working with a couple of people. One guy, he has like a different coach for the whole group, like every day of the week, and then he just now I'm muted. Can you hear
There
me
we
now?
go. Yep,
I'm
I can.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'll edit all this out so it makes it look good. But yeah, like I was saying, like um just being able to get that one-on-one, I can get really like nitty-gritty for the customer, but then I get all my energy drained and can't do anything for that hour. So it's like I can only work so many hours in a day before I, burn out. So it's definitely, I think everything's going to kind of switch to a really high end like group coaching, like a bunch of Zooms, like a clubhouse room every day or something, like there's all kinds of things you can do, and you can make more money if you can get more people into your thing. And so
Yeah.
I think it's all powerful.
And also, like, along with that, the more people you get in, then that allows you to offer them different experts, right?
Yeah.
So mindset is not my area of expertise. I am a strategist. I hired mindset coaches to help me with my mindset. So if I
Yeah.
was running a group coaching program, I would need to hire a mindset coach to be able to support my group, or a marketing specialist, or, like, so if
Uh,
you have a lot of people in that group space, it allows you to be able to bring in the necessary people you need to support them to see their success happen, right?
Yeah. Just collaborating with a bunch of other coaches too is always pretty cool. You can always like come together and become a super coach thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I think coaching is awesome. I don't want to say it's getting saturated because people are so incredible. There's such amazing things that people can offer, but I think a lot of people are trying to become a coach or do coaching or something. So it's just kind of interesting to see how the space is transforming. I think it's a lot of maybe the pandemic, people are like, oh, I got to make money somehow. And like, I can't have conferences anymore. So everybody's now an online guru coach. You just gotta be kind of careful. Like some people are giving bad advice, like on Clubhouse and all sorts of things. But I don't know. There's
Yeah.
enough money and enough people that need help for everybody.
Yeah, you got to be careful on Clubhouse because it is not a regulated platform yet, right? And,
Yeah.
and maybe it will down the road but it's still a baby, and so it's really unregulated. So you got to watch that, and you got to really vet who you work with, right? You got to check out all of their things. You got to check out their social proof. You've got to really get in their space to see if they actually do know what they're talking about before they're trying to, sell you into working with them.
Yeah. Are you booked up or are you still looking for clients to strategize and help them focus on growth?
Oh, I'm always looking for clients. Like I said, I
Yeah.
love doing those VIP days. Um, and I do quarterly planning workshops as well, which are a group based thing, but the
Cool.
next one will be in June, right? For
Yeah.
for the next quarter. But I love the VIP day model. And so I'm always looking to speak with people who are looking to figure out that strategy or how to, shift their systems or simplify their workflows or whatever that looks like for them.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. I think a lot of entrepreneurs need help just like focusing on a strategy instead of just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. So it's very
Yeah.
important for a real, especially if you're going to take it seriously as a business owner. You have to have a strategy and then you got to stick with it and be patient and make it work. So,
And that's the hard part, right? Is being patient, because in the online
yeah.
space we hear a lot of how you can make 1 million in 90 days or you can make multiple
Yeah.
six figures in 90 days, and we set these expectations for ourselves and we're not patient enough to actually work through what it takes to get there, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes of those claims. They've either had 10 failed businesses before this one's worked out, or they've got a huge audience that's kind of following them to this platform, or they have a ginormous team and budget for ad spend. Like there's something else that's not at the surface. And so but we don't hear that. We don't see that. We're just like, oh, okay, this can happen so fast. And then if it doesn't happen for us in a month or 2 months, we're ready to abandon that strategy and move into something else. It really does take some patience to work out the kinks and figure out what you need to do, what you need to optimize to make this work for you.
Yeah. Especially like once you set a goal, you got to see it through and then you got to let it like happen basically. And you got to get better at all the skills too as you're building a business. Like nothing's just going to perfectly work. You got to be able to put out some fires and some stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I got one more question for you. But why don't you tell everybody like the best places to get in contact with you and where to find you online?
Yeah. So I hang out most on Instagram. So you can find me on Instagram at Kristen.Westcott. So there's just a period between my first and my last name. I also have a Facebook group. So if some of you would like to join my Facebook group, I'm in there every week kind of giving strategies and suggestions around systems for those of you in the online space. But what I'd really love to share with your audience today is a free download for them that they can get. And so I know we get a whole ton of information while we're out there, and sometimes it can be hard to sort out what is right for our step or our phase of business growth. And so what I have is a focus framework for leveling up your business to the next level. And you self-select which area you're in. Are you startup? Are you in the early grind phase? Are you in your growth phase? Or are you scaling to 1 million? And then based on where you are, what phase you're in, you'll download a PDF guide that will give you 2 tips around what you should be focusing on for your strategy, 2 for what you should be doing to look at the structure of your business, 2 for what you might be looking at in terms of systems with where you're at right now, and then an idea of what support you might need to be looking at, bringing in to help your business grow to that next level. And so it's specifically catered to the business that you have, with just very minimal action steps for you to look at, so you don't get overwhelmed by consuming more content and you can actually take action on the stuff in that guide. And so that's called the focus framework. And Robert, I'll give you a link to that.
Perfect.
It'll be my website, and then / Lion Show.
Cool. Yeah, it'll be in the show notes. So that sounds awesome. So yeah, the question that I'm asking everybody is what motivates you or what is motivation?
Well, what motivates me actually goes back to, I guess, my whole reason for starting this business. So I have 2 daughters, and growing up, Again, I grew up in the 80s. So it was very kind of like very gendered ideas of what you could do and what you couldn't do. And in getting into this online space, I've really seen that we can really break down any and all gender boundaries when it comes to success, right? It's no longer determined based on your gender. And there's potential for that to get even better because I know we still have, some discrepancies there, but there is the potential when we move into the online space to really break down all those barriers. And so I really love to see entrepreneurs succeed in building their own business and building success on their own terms so that our next generation of children can really see what is possible for them is not what's written down in those history books, that there is really so much more potential out there for us to do the things that we love doing, regardless of your background. And so that's what motivates me every single day is to see like, who else can I help out there to make sure that their business doesn't fold just because things are really, really challenging right now? Like, how can I help them simplify things, streamline it, free up that time so that they can keep growing and really making an impact on our future generation? So that's what motivates me.
I love it. That's so good. Well, I think thank you everybody for listening today and investing some time. I'm sure there was lots of wisdom in there. So if you liked it, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. Kristen, is there any last thoughts that you have before we wrap up?
No, I've just really enjoyed chatting with your audience. I would love for them to reach out to me on Instagram. I love getting voice DMs, the audio Instagram DMs. And so I love hearing your voice as you ask me questions. So please, if you have any questions about anything we've talked about today, don't hesitate to shoot me an audio DM on Instagram.
Awesome. Will do. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great day. Bye.